Time to get into the Raptors? Okay, let's go. Boston, second round matchup. I think that this is, if there is a team, like I said this before, that is the Raptors' kryptonite, I believe it's Boston, just because of how good they are in defense and how many big guys they have that are athletic. Tatum, Brown, Tice is a good defender. We talked about Hayward being out, but they have a lot of guys that can kind of multiple positions guard. Marcus Smart can guard a lot of guys, 1 through 3, and he's a great defender. That's going to be the only question for me. The Raptors, like you said about the Lakers, against elite teams, obviously everybody's going to struggle against those type of defensive teams that are great, and that's really the only thing I'm worried about. What do you think?
I mean, like, this is going to be a real toss-up series, in my opinion. I think the one thing that the Raptors have an advantage over is depth-wise, in terms of guys that are on the bench. They have a good now. Whether Kemba against Kyle, Jaylen Brown against Pascal or whoever's guarding Siakam. Siakam usually has a problem when those guys guard him, so that'll be an interesting situation there. Thing, and Fred and so I would say overall, again, the matchups of the three main players, especially with Hayward out, like that'll be I would put it this way: if the Raptors' three main players, and I'm talking, let's say Siakam, Fred and Kyle can basically equal out to what Tatum, Brown, and Kemba do, the Raptors win the series, and win the series probably handily. Simply in the fact because you look at again Marcus Smart, okay, you got Tice. Should the Raptors get more production out of Marcus Gasol and Ibaka than the Celtics get?
Yeah, because their front line's way better, right?
Yeah, and that's where the Raptors have a significant advantage. I would love to see again Mark in the last game started hitting some shots. He needs to get better offensively. He
needs to take more shots.
He missed some some bunnies that they had me like screaming at the TV because he's missing open layups and it's all over the map. So he needs to get a reasonable offensive game. Serge has been great. I know he's been dealing with an injury. The Raptors bench compared to the Celtics is much better. You got guys that Norm's.
I wanted to talk about Norm and say how great he's been. He's been probably the best player.
Norm's been able to get some stellar stuff off the bench. You got you can put in a guy. Boucher doesn't really play all that often, but Matt Thomas.
Terrence when he's come in.
On this Jefferson, they're getting their points, and Matty Ice and so forth. But that's where I think the Raptors have a significant advantage. It's depth wise, especially with Hayward out. Now again, we'll see what happens with Kyle's foot and his ankle. But if the Raptors just equal out to what the Celtics produce, 3 on, just again same kind of deal, the Raptors will win the series.
Especially with OG guarding one of those guys as well,
OG's
right?
Another guy he can have some good offensive
Brown,
games.
He'll probably guard Brown or Tatum, whatever it needs.
It's a depth situation there.
More chess pieces.
Yeah, so the Raptors have the depth and they should win the series, but I'm thinking it's going to go the distance either way, but
yeah.
Like I said, it's definitely going to be a tough series. And again, if this is like I told you earlier, this to me was always going to be the Raptors' situation. I always thought that they would beat the first opponent they had, whether it was the Magic or the Nets. I actually thought they handled the Nets minus the second game. They handled them handily.
Shout out to myself on that one.
Yeah, again, after the second one, they looked a little suspicious.
I was worried too because they were like up. They were down, I think, 15 at one point or something.
So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be their game.
They fought back,
but the last two were just two were just blowouts pretty much. Game 3, I don't think they ever were. After they got them at a 9-10 point lead, the game was never close. Yeah. So again, it's going to be a different animal. They have to get tough inside, and they have to play their defense. If the Raptors play the defense the way they can, they'll definitely give the Celtics some headaches, and they should win the series. But then after that, probably in a Milwaukee Miami situation, who knows? But this to me was always going to be their challenge, was to get past the second round, because there are some solid teams. Again,
you think tougher than to get to their opponent in the next round?
They really, I guess, if you look at the situation, do the Celtics have a guy that's on Giannis's level? No. Do they overall? Do the Bucks have more depth overall or more star talent? I don't know. Middleton, you can go, but overall, the Bucks have a better team in terms of depth.
They're built better.
Built better because of the depth they have. While again, the Raptors got to contain a few guys. Again, it's one of those situations where. The Raptors struggled minus Kawhi for those first couple games last year against teams that are sort of built like the Celtics in terms of, the 76ers have Embiid, who the Celtics don't really have a very good big man. I don't know what they're going to get from Cantor either. I guess he's the guy that comes off the bench.
He's going to get eaten alive, but yeah.
there's that situation. So they dealt with guys like Simmons and things, so they've had a situation, but it's going to be interesting how they contend, and guys are going to have to hit their shots. Right? Like they're going to get their open looks, hit their shots, and they should be fine. Play that star level defense. They should be absolutely fine. I like the matchups that they have in certain situations. I think they're going to have to look more inside. I think Serge should have a field day for the most part, but I mean Tice is again a foul machine too. He gets fouled. He falls
exactly.
out.
And with those guys bringing Tice out, I was going to say shooting a three, talking about Gasol, talking about Serge. I think that's going to help the Raptors attacking as well, because that's really the only guy they have that's like a big, and he's an undersized big. Yeah. And if you're going to have to drag him out, that just opens the lane to go inside. I think that the Raptors are really, even guys like Fred, who would run into a tree like him and have to kind of alter their shot. That's, I think, the Raptors' best chance, to make sure that you can get your bigs distributing and shooting the three. And I think if they can do that, and we're going to see Marcus will actually hit shots and take shots willingly. We don't see that often. That to me is how you win the series.
Yeah, I think that's their key. And like I said, if they get similar production from the three main components to the other three, they should win out just based off of depth scoring. And again, they're the bench.
We got to see if Kyle's also available, right?
Bench scored what?
100. It was 100 the first time or whatever it was. Insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you'd score 150 for sure. I don't know if Kyle's going to go game one. He had an injury too, and what's his percentage? And we talked about Westbrook. You think he's going to be like the Kyle that we know?
Well, here's the thing. Like Kyle, again, I mean, you know me. I'm not the biggest Kyle guy in the world. I'll give him credit that he, at the end of the day, he brings some level of toughness and defense that they're definitely going to need. Mm-hmm. I haven't been thoroughly impressed with his shooting ever since game one with the Lakers. He had a solid first one, and then he's kind of tailed off. Yep. And then Fred's really taken the reins of the offensive. And man's going to get paid.
But we talked about this game. Let's come back.
Yeah, it's good, but it's getting to a point like he's gonna get paid, and I don't know. Like I've always been on the train that Fred might not be worth that max contract, but I'm starting to.
We're gonna come back because I want to do that. Yeah, no, I know. But yeah, if Kyle doesn't go, I think like the two guys to go for. You talked about Kyle, Fred, and Siakam. So if Kyle's out, Norm's been killing it. I think that he's probably been their most consistent guy. I always love he's the one guy that goes at the rim relentlessly, and I love that. OG is the guy that I think might have a big series in this one, because not being focused on, ready to just jump out, hit some shots, attack the rim, maybe grab the rebound, go back up. But he's a guy that another key to the series is his defense on probably Tatum, because he's their best player, and you can let Brown do what he wants because he's a more complete player. But Tatum offensively is on a different level, and I think that if Mark, two keys to series, if Mark and Serge can hit threes, bring Tice out. And I think if OG has just a good series guarding, because the defense should be there all the time. Offense will come and go. If he guards Tatum well, Raptors and I don't know what I'm going to say, but Raptors and let's go 6. I'll say 6. Raptors and 6.
I'm gonna go 7. The one thing I am concerned about is that the only loss in the bubble did come to the Celtics on that Friday night where they shot horribly and the game was over early. So. Hopefully that doesn't get in their heads too much. I mean, I think at that point they pretty much had that second seed wrapped up. They knew that the situation was pretty much done for them.
Still not a good look to get smacked like that.
Not a good look in terms of that. I mean, they did fight back a little bit, and I mean they were due for a bad game.
Maybe Kyle's not playing.
Maybe Kyle's not playing. That's it. He's down.
That might be a sign. OG, we need you.
And I think he landed on his ankle.
Oh my god.
But yeah, you know what? Like I said, like Kyle, like in the extra days. I think he'll be all right. Like I said, he just needs to shoot the ball consistently. And again, if other guys are having a hot hand, like this is really the series that I see what Siakam's really made of. Because I think the last series he had no matchup issues at all because he was having his way. But this is basically to see where Pascal Siakam.
Let's talk about that. And I said this before. Pascal's been great against teams that are, let's say, like non-playoff teams or teams that are not elite. And like we talked about the Lakers and the Raptors, any team will struggle with elite defending. I want to see what Pascal does this series, because even last year, obviously, Golden State had some big games, but you're worried about Kawhi. You're worried about Fred hitting open shots. You're getting a one-on-one matchup with Kevon Looney or something like that in the finals, right? I want to see when he's going up against Jaylen Brown, when he's going up against Tice, him bring it and him attack these guys and not settle for bad jump shots. Because that's not really his game. He can hit the shots, sure, but as a big guy, even as a guard, you want to attack to set up the jump shot.
Yeah.
And I want to see if he can do that.
I think that's what's been a lot of their... It does frustrate me a lot sometimes with the Raptors, and specifically, it is specifically with Kyle, I'm not going to lie on that, but They
jitters
they
and
don't
bumps.
they don't use the shot clock very wisely at times. Let's be real. Again, it's just basketball IQ. Is that literally when you're like I've seen guys try to dribble through 5 guys. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Just running up the court, shooting up a shot when there's nobody in the front court. Like there's no chance of a rebound. There's no second chance opportunities whatsoever, and it's just not a smart basketball IQ at times, and that really puzzles me with some of them because I'm thinking like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Wasting a shot.
You're wasting a shot. Like if it goes in, maybe you'll be applauded, whatever. But like you're really like, and again, then there's a whole thing with the referees and get into that kind of situations. But like I said, it'll be a tough series. I think it'll go back and forth. You just got to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. OG, like again, I've been telling you,
another guy, yeah.
His offensive game is starting to show some signs. Not maybe too. I mean, some guys are
not the shot creation.
Some guys on the internet are just, or not on the internet. Some of my legitimately sports writers are thinking that he's going to be an all-star next year. I don't know about that because of his offensive game, but. Yeah. All we really need for him really to do is chip in with
14, 15, even 15 points.
Even that, or even 8 to 10 and play some solid defense on Tatum, and I think I'd take that at the end of the day. If you can average 10 in the series, I think that'd be perfectly fine. But yeah, his defense is going to be the big thing.
And like I said, that's usually there.
And I think the Celtics, I was surprised that they swept the Sixers, but I mean, we're going to get into that as well. But like, I was impressed that, again, they still got owned by Embiid, but they really did do a good job on other guys. And I mean, I think Horford and Harris had a horrible series, but I was stunned that was a sweep.
Before we get into the Sixers and that mess of the series, I want to talk quickly about Fred. Fred and OG both free agents this year, and we talked about it a little bit last time.
Well, OG's an RFA though, right?
Yeah, he should be restricted. Fred, because he wasn't drafted, will be unrestricted. What do you do if you're the Raptors? Do you, Max, are you waiting? Do you hope wishful thinking that you're going to get Giannis and possibly not pay your own guys, or do you want to let him walk?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think depending on what OG ends up getting offered as a restricted free agent, obviously, and I think that he'll take
he'll get $70 million.
I think he'll get a reasonable deal on kind of like what Norm got and a lot of those kind of.
He's going to get way more than that.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that I was thinking more so like what Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield and Jaylen Brown both got like $70-80 million. Now, I don't know if he'll get 80, but I would not be surprised if he gets 60.
But see, here's the thing. I think Buddy and Jaylen had at that point. It was like OG was injured the majority of last year. I think he's not at that. He's not at those type of levels right now.
You don't think anybody will offer him $15 million a year?
I think 15. I mean, what did
so
Fred
like 45.
Fred got what, 12? Sorry, not Fred.
Fred got 224. Norm got 4 for 40, but that was like 4 years, almost 4 years ago.
I would say that you could probably give him $15 million, and I'd be okay with that. But like. I mean, depending on what people offer, I mean, I think Fred's a loyal guy. I think Fred's a guy that the Raptors took a chance on him when he was
I think so too, but I don't know if the Raptors, if he gets a max, let's say it's not a max.
Kyle's gone, so
that's what I was going to get.
At point guard. So Kyle's gone after next year. I think next year is last year. Yeah. Who knows if they might trade him with that expiring contract. Yeah. It is what it is, and we have to come to grips. And I think a lot of people. Need to realize this. I mean, we called for it a couple of years ago, and then they did the whole Kawhi thing. They again, a lot of those guys are old. Like they're not going to be around for much longer.
Who?
You're looking at Kyle.
Yep.
You're looking at
Serge and Mark, both free agents.
Serge and Mark are likely not going to be. So a lot of those key pieces are going to be gone.
You got to think probably Serge comes back on a 1 or 2 year deal. I would think.
Well, like I said,
he wants to be back as well.
Depending on what the money is and so forth. And again, I'd take him on a reasonable deal. But again, the team's going to get older. You're going to have to retool the team, and
you'll save $33 million on Mark as well.
If you want to ask me right now, if I had to, even with the age thing, I think there's signs that Fred's surpassing Kyle.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it sounds crazy. This year, I think the finals when people started seeing it, even non-Raptors fans. I've been calling for it for a while, and I told you guys before. I thought that Fred was the next Kyle. The way they play the game, the size, the shot, the taking charges sometimes, the tough defense. A little bit smaller.
I think Kyle's better at taking charges. But I think Fred's a better shooter.
He
has that step back three that it looks like it knocks guys down, and guys should really have a book on that.
A lot of guys have done it,
and they still can't do it. So I mean, I think he's a likable guy. I got no problem. The thing with his kids was awesome. And, I have no problem paying him. But again, here's the thing. We have to be realistic. Is Giannis going to come here? There's that hopes and whatever, but. Who the heck knows? I think they would
That's
still
what
have
I'm saying.
I think they would still have enough money.
Competition.
Still have enough money to bring him in and have an opportunity at it. But I'm sure Masai's got a pretty good
read.
Masai's not an idiot. He has a pretty good read on the situation. So he's not going to put the future on the team on the hopes of signing Giannis.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if you go covered bare, like why is Giannis going to sign here knowing he's going to have the same problems that he had in Milwaukee and even have a worse team? That doesn't make any sense. He'd want Fred around. He'd want solid pieces so that he has backup. And I mean that's the way it should be. I mean he's not going to go to the Knicks. He's not going to do any of this garbage.
He's going to win.
I can see him doing some crazy Golden State thing. Who the heck knows? But
Lakers, who knows? But anyways, last question about this before we wrap it up. If you had to give the max, and let's say it's last year, would you rather give it to Pascal or to Fred?
If I had to give the
one of the two, yeah, or even let's say whatever. Let's just say a max to use the term easily. Because someone should. Pascal had suitors for the max. He stayed here. Fred will get it.
I think Fred's.
I don't think this was a question last year, by the way.
I think Fred's starting to reach his caps.
Yeah.
I still think that Pascal's got another tier in him.
You think so?
I think so. I think Pascal with his continued progression. It's a tough question. Like I said, I'll give Pascal credit. Well, he's a starter in the All-Star game. He's come a heck of a long way. And just his tools, his size, his physicality. I would probably give it to Pascal, and Fred would be just a slight bit lower. But even that being even a conversation is crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Considering the fact that we had the situation on who we were going to pay, Fred or DeLon Wright a couple years ago.
That's what I was going to say. He was a third point guard on the team.
And now look at the situation where DeLon's a decent player, but he's not on Fred's level these days. That's for sure. So give the guy credit. He had his struggles but when he's hitting the shots, and you just like watching the guy play basketball because that shot smooth.
Yeah.
Again,
he brings it every game.
The Toronto Drake. And
he is. He's a Toronto man.
He's a Toronto man.
Okay, so let's wrap up that. You had to make your prediction on the series.
I was gonna have
7
Raptors in 7. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll go the entire way. Which again, I think that's gonna be it's a toss up. I'm a little scared of the series. I'm not gonna deny it. I think this is one of those situations where I think it could end up rough, but it really depends on how they come out.
I think if the Raptors win this series, the Eastern Conference Final is an easier series, regardless whether it's. And to be, I sounded crazy as I said last time. I think Boston and Miami are the toughest matchup they have in the East, just based on pieces, matchups. The Bucks, I think that the Raptors win. I don't want to say it's a lock, but I'm more confident. I'm more confident of them this year than I was last year before Game 1 had started.
It all depends. The biggest factor is what happens, how they deal with Giannis and defensive player of the year and all that stuff.
Shout out to Nick Nurse, by the way, for officially winning Coach of the Year. And I was going to say, I think that the Raptors definitely have the coaching advantage. They had it last year, they have it this year. And I think that his creativity defending Giannis and throwing different bodies at him. I think OG would be a capable guy this year. I don't know if Pascal will be as good, but that's another guy you could throw at him with some size. It
would have to be OG, and that's the situation where the Bucks lost a couple of guys. They brought a couple of guys in. Are they better than they were last year? You can debate that. You can debate that point. The Raptors lost Kawhi and Danny Green. Then you have OG stepping up, and then Fred's having a crazy resurgence. So I think again, in these type of situations, you need a guy that's gonna That's the one thing I'm a little bit fearful of, because in these type of situations, who's gonna be the guy? Last year we knew who the guy was.
I think Fred's showing how clutch he is.
And that's the situation. Last year you had when the team's playing horribly, you could jump on Kawhi's back and Kawhi gets you through.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see how these guys again. The Nets thing, like you said, they're playing guys that were 9th, 10th men on a lot of teams. Harris left the bubble, it was all over the map. This is really to see how tough and these guys are, or can they get to that next level when they do face the elite teams? Because again, as we know, the Nets.
That's the toughest thing.
Yeah,
shout out to Karis LeVert for predicting a series win as well. He had a good series, but for predicting the win. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up with the 76ers and where they go from here because it's going to be rough. We'll be back on the block. All right, welcome back to On the Block. We do have a new correspondent, but it's not Lamar. Okay, so I want to talk about the 76ers, and obviously they had got swept in the Celtics series. Joel Embiid couldn't really do much more. I guess he could have dropped 50 or whatever. It didn't look like they were going to win any game. Now, after this whole fiasco, who do you blame in this? Is this like strictly a management thing? Is this players didn't do enough, personnel, GM Elton Brand?
Well, I'm gonna make a couple of bold statements here. One, first and foremost, I knew that Brett Brown was going to get fired either way this year because it was definitely
Unless they won a title.
Unless they won a title. I think I had them early on. I thought they were going to make the NBA Finals. I thought the Horford situation would put them over the top. Hasn't been the case whatsoever. I was dead wrong on that. What I really want to state is I really have a belief that Joel Embiid is going to be a guy like Kyrie Irving, and a guy like Kevin Love. And I think he's never going to be the main piece of a championship winner. I don't think he has the mentality for it. I don't think he has the leadership abilities for it. I think that's a problem. I think that I'm getting that vibe in these situations. We're going on with teammates and the way that he just, sulking all over the place. I don't see a guy that's going to be the main guy winning a chip. I see a guy that will be a second star to another bigger piece that might be able to get it done, but he's not going to be the main guy. I don't think he has that DNA. And whether, I know they're missing Ben Simmons, and we can go through that.
They might have won a few games, but they probably weren't going to win the series.
They probably would not have won the series. I think that maybe depending on who they get in as a coach, but the way that it's going on in Philly right now, are they going to trade him? Probably, likely not. But they're stuck. They're in a very similar situation where the Horford contract, I believe, is another 2 years. No one's going to take that. No one's going to take that deal.
Nobody.
Tobias Harris was
an albatross.
Has been an albatross. You're stuck with that situation because I don't think anyone's taking that either. And what are you going to